Hello everyone, welcome to our Juventus Coaching YouTube channel. In this video, we will be going over 11v11 defending in Zone 1. So, how we behave off the ball in our defensive third of the field. Before we look at the tactical principles, let's go over the overarching theme. In Zone 1, we are looking to defend with zonal principles. And zonal defending has two main references, the ball and the goal. We want to defend the ball and we want to protect the goal. These are the two main priorities of our defending. Defending the ball, protecting the goal. We are not so interested in strictly man marking everyone all over the place, because then we end up getting dragged all over. Of course, defending has marking included in it, and we're going to see how that looks in Zone 1 in our different defending shapes. However, we always want to keep in mind when we coach that our two main references are the ball and the goal. We're defending the ball, protecting the goal. So let's see how that looks tactically on the pitch. So first, we want to identify and explain to our players the role of the first defender. And the first defender is the player that is nearest to the opponent in possession of the ball. So whenever our team identifies the first defender, in this case the ball is over here, this might be our first defender. Or this might be our first defender. And the role of the first defender is to intervene and defend that ball. How does that look? That looks like pressuring, denying, and delaying. When we say pressure on the ball, it means we're closing and reducing the distance between the defender and the opponent with the ball. So we're stepping up, we're putting pressure on the ball. We're denying a potential cross, let's say from that position. We're denying a potential shot. We're denying a passing lane. We're denying options to our opponent in possession of the ball. And we're also delaying the defensive action until we can tackle. So the first defender shouldn't just go in, jump right away, and get dribbled. They pressure, reduce the distance, deny shots, crosses, passes, and shuffle back to delay. At a certain point, when we identify a situation where we can tackle, we can also go ahead and try to win the ball. The second principles we want to apply after we use the first defender to put pressure and defend the ball is the pressure and cover principle. As the first defender steps up to pressure, deny, and delay, we want to create a line of cover. We want other defenders to be in a position to cover that first defender. Covering means being in a position to intervene when my teammate gets dribbled. So in this case, the opponent's winger is taking on our fullback. If our center backs are in this position, they are not in a cover position, because if this player dribbles our fullback, our center backs are not in a position to intervene defensively. Now, if they shift to this side, they are creating a line of cover. Fullback gets dribbled, perfect. Our center back is ready to intervene. Why do we call it a line of cover? Because in our defensive shapes, we want the line of cover to be flat and not staggered. There is a specific reason. It helps us manage the zone and the space in behind our line better. If we create a line of cover that is positioned like this, as you can see, it offers a lot of space for diagonal runs. There can be a ball in behind, that attacker can potentially score. If the line is flat, however, this diagonal run is harder to make and can potentially be offside very quickly. So this principle applies to all over the field with all of our defensive lines. There is a first defender that steps pressure, and there is a flat line of cover ready to intervene. If we put our players back, this can happen over here. One player steps to pressure, other players are covering. Again, in a flat line. So the pressure cover principles, again, is something that guides our defending, especially when we are defending our goal in our defensive third. The third principle that we're going to look at when we defend in zone 1 is compact lines. We want, when we defend all together as defensive units, we want our distances to be appropriate. That means we're not too wide, we're not spreading out, we're squeezing the space. So we have narrow distances between our defenders, but we also want to reduce distances in between the lines. These lines right now, they're too spread out. A lot of space here, a lot of space here, a lot of space here. So when we defend, especially in zone 1, we want our lines to be compact. We want to create compact lines that are going to give the opponent less space. So between defenders and midfielders, between midfielders and attackers, we want our players to recognize when the spaces are getting too big, and we want to squeeze that space and have compact lines that are working together when we defend in our defensive third. We talk about zonal defense and we speak of the ball and the goal as the two main references. However, we recognize that zone 1 necessitates marking at times. Let's take a look at how we can explain to our players the process of marking. When we mark someone, when I'm marking a direct opponent, I never want to be in a position where I'm looking at the opponent, but I'm not looking at the ball. Because if I'm only looking at my opponent, but I'm not seeing the ball, this player can dribble my teammate and score. Vice versa, I also don't want to be in a position where I'm only looking at the ball, but I am losing sight of my direct opponent. In this case, I don't know where he or she may be. They may be in a good position to receive the ball and score. So the solution and our way of marking, especially when we defend in zone 1, is we have to be able to see both. A good marking position is a spot where, as a defender, I'm able to see the ball and I'm able to see my direct opponent. For example, here, in this line of sight, I have visual on the ball, I have visual on my opponent. I can intervene in the pressure cover principle, but I'm also marking my direct opponent. I can give them some space, I can be pretty tight on them. As long as I see both, I'm seeing ball, I'm seeing my opponent. I'm seeing ball and I'm seeing my opponent. This becomes critical, especially, let's say, on the side opposite to the ball. Here, if I'm getting drawn to this side, I want to make sure I'm scanning, checking my shoulder. I can take a look at this attacker and I can see the ball. I have to be able to see both as I mark in our defensive third. One more tactical principles we will be going over is reading cues as defensive lines to adjust the positioning on the field. You can see here we have the concept of open or closed ball. Some coaches call it playable or unplayable ball. And let's take a look at what that is. An open ball or playable ball is when a player in the opposition is in possession of the ball and has the ability to dribble forward, to pass forward unopposed. So in this case, this player here is in possession of the ball, can dribble forward, can pass forward. This is a case of open or playable ball. When we have an open ball, our defenders have to be able to read it. They have to be able to adjust their hips and be ready to shuffle back and cover the space in behind. Because if we face an open ball straight on, what can happen is this ball can be played in behind and this space can become dangerous for a back line to defend. So as we face a situation of open ball, we start to shuffle back, we start to protect the space in behind, and eventually someone will step to be the first defender, and we're going to create the line of cover. However, in a situation of open ball, we never want to be stuck and still on the field. Open ball, this is the danger. we're going to start shuffling back as one first defender gets pressure on the ball. So overall, the code is open ball, playable ball. We go back, we're protecting the space in behind. The other reading cue is the closed ball or unplayable ball. If a player is in possession of the ball but does not have the ability to play forward, dribble forward, or is under intense pressure, we call that closed ball or unplayable ball. Meaning in this case, this red player does not have the chance to play forward or dribble forward or use any kind of space forward. That means our back line reads that cue and steps up to squeeze the space. If we don't get good at reading the unplayable or closed balls and our back line does not step up, we end up becoming a team that gets squeezed into our own defensive third a lot. Okay? Especially in moments of the game where we get under pressure, we have to be able to read the unplayable balls and step up. That is going to give us time and space to get up the field, breathe, and put pressure on the opponent as well. Okay, so as there is an unplayable ball, we don't want to be stuck here. We want to read the unplayable ball, the closed ball. We want to step the line up. And this is something that shouldn't be directed always by the coach, yelling, step up, step up, step up. But ideally, our defenders are able to read the cues. Open ball, I position my hips, I'm ready to go back, I'm ready to defend the space in behind. This is, for example, again, an open ball. Closed ball, can't play forward. All right, I help my teammates as a line, we all move up and we squeeze the space. Lastly, let's take a look at some of the defensive shapes that we might want to use in the final third. You can see here our 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. Let's take a look, for example, at the role of our wingers when we defend in our defensive third. Wingers are not only players that are going to attack. We want to attack together and defend together. Just like our fullbacks are pushing up at the attack when we are in possession, our wingers have to participate in the defensive phase of the game when we're being attacked. For example, ideally, if the ball is on that side, a winger is providing some sort of support, or the midfielder is coming over to this side. Again, we're not so concerned about the players on this side. We're concerned about defending the ball and providing cover with compact lines. If the ball gets, for example, on this side, first defender, line of cover, compact line here, the ball is taken care of with the first defender. The protection of the goal is being taken care of with the line of cover. However, you see space over here. In this case, our winger here needs to recognize that they are in a position where they need to help their back line. So they move here and they keep an eye on this play. So winger shifts and defends the flank on the opposite side of the ball. And the same thing can happen on the other side, vice versa. So our center backs and our midfielders are taking care mostly of the central spaces. The fullbacks and the wingers have to collaborate on pressure cover, and they have to collaborate on protecting the zones of the field. Because again, if the ball is on this side, our fullback will be dragged to be the first defender. Here, the back line will have to shift. Midfielders will shift as well. So in this case, we will need the winger to manage the zone on the opposite side. Let us know if you have any questions, and we will see you soon on the field. Thank you.